Hello and welcome to Sutro Sidetalk, episode 174. I'm your host, Kamran Shushtar, and with me is...
James Seelig.
Dude, I am finally gonna be playing that new Pokemon game. I got it.
I might actually download that tonight. I don't know. I still am like,
Here it is.
I'm on the
I got
fence.
it. It's right here. Oh yeah, dude. It's you know how
Finally get
long it's
around to
been?
that one.
This has been sealed since its release, and I'm finally like, oh, I should probably play this. I was
Dude, like
actually
if
talking to Ty. I was playing Hunt with him earlier
yeah,
after we got back home from the movie, and pretty much I was like, yeah, so which ones do you play on the Switch? He's like, none of them. And I'm like, why? He's like, none of them are good, worth like
yeah,
playing.
they've all had
Like
problems.
they all have an aged engine that they never switched from. That's from like a DS. It's a DS engine on a Switch.
Wait, what? Huh?
They've been using the
I
same
didn't hear
engine since
that.
like the DS. Yeah,
Oh my God, that explains so many
their
things.
proprietary engine. Yeah, I'm like,
Dude, the
oh shit,
Pokemon,
this is like Nintendo's Bethesda Game Studios with Todd. It's just like, oh my
it kind of
god,
is.
they've been
Like,
using like the same thing, and they're just like, it doesn't matter, people will buy it, and which is the same thing with like Bethesda games, and it's just like there's all these issues, and you're just like, they're like half-assing it the entire time.
yeah, that's the thing. Like, all the reviews for it, not to make this like a quick Pokemon talk,
Yeah.
but like all the reviews for it are that mechanically it's a very fun game, a very good Pokemon game. But like technically it just doesn't run well at all. And I don't know. It's
Also,
just a
from what I've
shame.
heard, they've really been shitting on legendary Pokemon for generations now.
Really.
Yeah, because it's just you. It's just like, here, have a legendary Pokemon. There's no challenge for it anymore, from what I've heard. And there's so many now. Like they're not even trying to like. It's like, oh, let's just give you a few. It's like, no, here's like 20 legendary Pokemon, and you don't have to like work hard to catch them. He was like reminding me, like, hey, remember like in the old ones where you had to like really, really try hard to even find the legendary Pokemon, like the dogs and stuff from Silver and whatnot. And yeah, all that challenge is gone. All the like really trying to get it is gone. There's no like
Yeah,
real...
apparently you get the legendary for this one like immediately, but
Yeah,
it's
they hand them
because
out to you now, like
well
free shit.
Chris he got the new Pokemon and he said that it you can't use it in battle, but it's basically how you go around the game. Like instead of getting like a bike
Yeah, it's just a
and
mount.
stuff, it literally just turns into everything you need. It's a Pokemon Transformer, I guess.
Yeah, that's great. But yeah, anyway, Sutro Side Talk, guys. We talk what we watch and play, plus select news this week. Zero news. Instead, we've got two specific topics we're gonna do, and we do a few of these episodes a year, Marvel episode, usually because like the movies and shows will align themselves kind of well enough that we can hit them both at once, or we just have so much to talk about recently, like right now, where there's so many topics that it works easier to just put them together as well and just knock them out at the same time, since they're the same genre of sorts, which this time we're talking...
The Marvel genre.
Yeah, the fucking Marvel genre. It's not really one of the best genres. It's just kind of one of those genres that's there and it
Well,
never leaves, and it's always just
the way I
going
keep
and
describing
going.
it is, yeah, it's like
Ongoing
they
averageness.
well they used to have individual movies.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's the Marvel show.
Yep.
You just watch the newest episode of the Marvel show, whether that episode is an entire season of a show or a new movie, which we've got one of both this time.
It's usually it used to be, oh, I'm excited for this one Marvel movie coming out this year, and then the one next year too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming. I'll see it, I
Oh my
guess.
God, we're getting a Thor movie.
Yep.
That's hard
Uh
to like. We got four of them now. I think we're
and
good.
this episode's I guesses are She-Hulk and Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever. Um I think I said when we were watching, we talked recently actually about Werewolf by Night in our more Halloweenish episode. And I
Yeah.
said that and Shang-Chi were like kind of the uh two different Marvel things that stuck out since like Disney Plus launched, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Uh and
Is Shang-Chi? I guess Shang-Chi would be post Disney Plus.
yeah, basically post like, I guess you'd say like Avengers Endgame, since that whole time. And those are the only two that I thought have been like really good, or great, I guess you would say. And after watching this new show, this new movie, I could safely say that that is still the fact. Those are the only two things that I've found really great. Aside from that stuff, nothing has come close still. But we're gonna talk She-Hulk, and then we're gonna talk Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And we just watched Black Panther today in theaters, and
Yeah.
She-Hulk I finished earlier this week. Finally, I just stopped watching it for a while. I think I had like 3 episodes left, just because I was with binging One Piece, and I wasn't really at that point. I was like, I'm not missing anything in She-Hulk. I'll just go to this. I don't care if there's
And now
spoilers.
you've already seen the movie for the One Piece movie, so you're like,
Yeah, I'm
I
like
don't have I don't need to break
I'm
my neck.
slowing down on One Piece. Yeah,
Yeah,
I watched
I
One
don't need
Piece
to break
Red.
my back over it now.
Yeah, which I'm still watching. Like I went to my buddy's house and watched like 3 more episodes. And I'm like, for those that do watch One Piece, if you want to know where I'm at currently, I'm on Whole Cake Island. I would say past the halfway point on it. I'm watching via One Piece for it, so it's not like over 100 episodes. There's like 28, 29, and it's like 39 maybe. I think it's like 39 episodes, and I'm on like 22. But it's a good time. And eventually, when I catch up completely where it currently is in Wano, then I will do a fun One Piece episode and bring my buddy Paul on, who got me into the show.
All right.
With that said, though, let's dive right into She-Hulk first, I guess. And I don't think this will take too long, just because I'm gonna be honest, guys. There's not too much to say about this show. I watched it, and to sum it up very quickly, I was completely indifferent on it. I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was good. It was just kind of there. I was like, all right,
Yeah,
that's it.
I don't know. I'm kind of similar. I might be a little bit more positive just because like I did enjoy most of the individual episodes, but I still felt disappointed with the season as a whole when it was done. Because like they started off by saying like don't expect this to be the regular Marvel action packed thing where there's like some massive threat that the main character has to deal with and stuff like that. It's just going to be a court drama because that's what Jennifer Walters wants to do. Is she just
Yeah,
wants to be a lawyer that happens to be able to turn into a Hulk because she didn't ask for that power. I guess like not everyone asked for the powers, but like that was also a theme that Bruce kept saying to her was like it doesn't matter if you wanted this or not, you got it. So you got to like be responsible with it, which is fair. But also, like, I was actually interested in maybe there being, for once, a different Marvel thing that's like literally just a court drama that happens to involve superhero and supervillain related crimes. I thought that would have been really interesting and a fun little side thing, and then it just ended up being a cameo of the week thing. Dude, Wong gets so much work. He's in like
Wong is just in everything now. They're just like, hey, let's don't for. I think what's going on right now, it feels like, is just like that for every Marvel show and movie, practically, not all of them, obviously. He's not in Black Panther. He wasn't in Werewolf by Night, but like in most other things, you're just kind of like. So in the writers' room, we're trying to figure out where do we put the Wong cameo for this one specific? Like, where do we want to put it?
it was really
So
funny for when the judge was like, "Wait, you do realize you just like admitted to perjury, right?" Or something. He's like, "I need to go."
he
He
just
just like
leaves,
teleports out.
teleports out.
Uh,
I'm out of your jurisdiction. Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's safe to say the best character in the show is definitely Madison. With a Y, but not where you
Oh god,
think.
that was so
That
funny.
was straight up actually. I was like, oh, this is pretty
Yeah,
good. That
with a Y, but not where you think.
not where you think. Yeah, I
I
really
love how she
actually enjoyed that.
casually like recounts her like night, uh, like is
I
it
was in
not
like
with
a demon place.
yeah, it's like I made a deal with this guy. It was really weird. I said I couldn't say anything about it. Like God, that was so fucking
The
funny.
fucking Mephisto. Was that Mephisto? Was
I think
that
that was like a tongue-in-cheek reference to maybe Mephisto, which the fan but that's also hard to say because like the whole show ends up being in the end like subverting expectations essentially and just like everyone expects this but you don't always get that you get this or
and
whatever.
they're like, see, isn't that a valuable lesson? And you're like, so it's not as good as we thought it would be then. Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
I think sometimes it worked and then sometimes it really did not work, depending on what
yeah.
was going on. But uh, for me, I think the show as a whole didn't do anything. I think there were individual episodes that I thought were fun, and then there were many other episodes that were just whatever. And it was enough where it was like the ones that weren't for the overall story, I guess you would say, were the ones that were whatever. And then the ones that felt like a random one shot, not even all the ones that were random one shots, were just the ones that felt more like, oh, this is good. Like straight up, it was just the magic episode, I think was the one I liked the most.
Which one was
Uh
the magic episode?
the one where it was that dude who kept when Wong needed Jessica's help. I
Oh
mean
God,
Jennifer.
that was actually
Jennifer's help.
funny. That was like and that's the thing. That was one of the few episodes that actually was like court related, and it was
Yeah.
like Wong was suing a magician.
It was like that.
That was hilarious.
It was stupid, but I guess it was enjoyable seeing a dude who's just like, I get out of things by killing myself and then walking away afterwards.
Yeah, that was
And
pretty
then
funny.
he has to apologize to everyone, so that was like somewhat enjoyable. And then the
Yeah, it's
only
like
other
instead
thing,
of getting a divorce, he just literally dies to get out of the marriage, and then he just like goes and marries the next person.
yeah. And then the Daredevil leapfrog, was it leapfrog? Was that his
I think it
name?
was Leapfrog. Yeah.
Leapfrog. That was like enjoyable because it was the one time you actually saw She-Hulk in the suit that you know her from in the comics that you're like, oh yeah, so he made this for her, we're gonna get this, right? And then it's like, yeah, here it is for 10 minutes. And then you're like, okay, what else? And it's like, what do you mean? That's it. That's all you get. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Um, it was just very, yeah, bland. It was just hella bland.
Well, I think like my what I don't even know if I want to call it a complaint, but just my point of confusion, I guess, is like the last episode was super interesting, but also very confusing. And they had kind of worked with like in the comics, She-Hulk does constantly break the fourth wall. So, and they work that into this show where Jennifer occasionally will stare at the camera and talk to the audience because she is aware of us and it's
Yeah,
interesting. But it felt
semi
like
interesting.
for sure. And like one of my few complaints throughout the season was that like they would do that so sparingly that when it did happen, it felt like jarring. And I was just like, oh, right. Yeah, she does that. I forgot about that. Until the final episode where it like entirely revolves around her ability to fourth wall break. And she literally breaks out of her own show and she goes through the Disney Plus like user
UI,
interface
yeah.
and goes through the like the Marvel's Avengers or
Avengers
Avengers
Assemble,
Assembled
yeah,
thing that I've never
behind the
watched.
scenes
Yeah,
thing,
it's just
yeah.
like behind the scenes stuff. And she's like, "Oh, perfect." And she goes there and somehow essentially like gets into our real world and talks to the writers of her own show.
Yeah.
And she's like, this shit's stupid. You're having me fight some random other Hulk dude who's just like a loser off the internet. Like, that's not interesting. And like, why would I do that? And like, why is Bruce coming out of nowhere to save me? Like,
Why is Titania coming out of the wall? And it was just like,
yeah, like,
I'm not gonna lie, it was sort of making, at least just with Green Hulk dude and then Abomination showing up helping her. I mean, already being there helping her, I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then once Hulk and Titania come out, I'm like, okay, I get what you're doing.
yeah,
I'm
at that
sorry.
point I was like, this is weird. So like it was interesting that she then was like, yeah, why is this happening? Uh, and it was interesting that she goes into the real world and talks to essentially the writers of her show and then also Kevin Feige as like a robot, which
Yeah,
was funny. But like I forget the acronym for Kevin, but it basically was just supposed to be a joke about
yeah, it
Kevin
was just a
Feige.
thing. It doesn't matter.
And um so my question is like she essentially convinces Kevin to be like, we don't need to do this big final end of the season brawl fight thing to satisfy people. So let's not do the Hulk King thing. And so at that point I'm like, well then why have that wedding episode where she hooked up with the guy that ended up being part of the whole conspiracy to get her blood to do the whole thing? Like was that just a waste of time then?
Yes.
And yeah, so then it's like, well, it feels like you've wasted my time. Because also I was not the biggest fan of that wedding episode because it literally felt like out of nowhere. But I guess again, I guess that's kind of the point that they're
I mean,
like,
pretty much within that episode, you have her going up there, like it's her dealing with all the shit coming at her for her privacy being leaked. then it's her going to the place, then it's that fake fight, and then it's Robo Kevin, and then problem solved, followed by family fucking barbecue thing. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, so half of these things didn't even matter in the final episode. Like only it was just kind of
By the
a
way, here's Scar with a fucked up haircut.
yeah, yeah. So it was just it was very underwhelming. I
Yeah.
get what they were trying to do, but I was also just at that point getting bored with the show. And I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah, I just feel like they
so
tried to go too meta at the end and
yeah,
lean too hard into the fourth wall break. And it was like, again, I thought it was interesting, but it didn't feel satisfying, I guess. But
yeah.
whatever.
And they're like, see, aren't you satisfied? We didn't satisfy you. Our plan worked the whole time.
Yeah.
I
So
mean, the
like,
whole thing too is like they even mentioned it by the final episode. You could see what they were also trying to do in that final episode. Hey, can you unhulk your cost? We can't
yeah, they
afford this
literally were like,
anymore.
"Can you do that?" And like also off camera because that's expensive, and we already animated all that, or we ran out of our. We've already done reached our animation budget or some
No,
shit like that.
the our visual effects team has already moved on to another
That's
project.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be underpaid and overworked for another project. Thank you so much. Which, for those that don't realize it, that was the whole thing that Shield came under scrutiny for, considering it's a character that's basically being CG'd the whole time, and
Yeah.
the teams are getting like hella work because also it's not just Disney's fault. It is Disney's fault, but it's also the studio's fault that are doing it because they're the ones bidding. And when I say bid, it's not like, oh, Disney's bidding for the studio. It's the studios are bidding with lower and lower rates to
Because
Disney.
they want a Disney project on their
Yeah.
portfolio.
So they're going, we want to, we will work in this less amount of time and get paid this much less to do this project. And then all the employees are just like, water would be nice. It's like, that fucking SpongeBob dried up. That's like them. That's what how they're being treated. And it's like, yeah, it really is that whole thing of like, I hope they all get to unionize, but it's also like, this is all over the place. This is in the US, this is in Canada, this is where they're being outsourced in other countries. All those types of places. Like, I hope they're able to figure it out and do better, not in these projects, I mean do better like for themselves, where they hopefully will be able to be treated better and get better hours and have these projects not be rushed, because I get it, they're all trying to rush them to have them all come out in this time and fucking overfill us with amount of Marvel Star Wars content and everything else. And it's like, oh, thank you for overfilling us, or now your shit is becoming incredibly average beyond belief. uh and
Yeah, except like Andor is also really good.
I
So
haven't watched it yet.
occasionally they
So
can still hit a home run.
that's the
But
thing, though. It's just showing like here's a bunch of schlock, and then every now and again you get a little. Here's a gem and a piece of shit. At that
yeah,
point, it's
yeah.
the shining needle in the haystack.
The diamond in the rough.
Yeah, the diamond in the rough. What was that? Was that in Aladdin? Yeah, that's
Yeah, that was
Aladdin.
in Aladdin.
Yeah, the fucking okay. The fucking live action Disney sons of bitches. Anyway, I one thing I do understand what they were doing was the entire like, hey, do you ever think about like how it is for the female equivalent of the same exact job that males get, along with just like
Yeah.
everyday life from
Like
everything from.
I did like when Bruce was like, "You have to learn how to control your anger," and she's like, "I do that all the time because I have to." He's like,
And it was like,
That's fair."
yeah, it's like that's very believable, honestly.
Uh,
And I did understand that entire thing. It made a lot of sense. I think that was probably the best job they did, was conveying that. Whether or not they may have done it every waking moment, which at a certain point it was very much hammered in. It was like, oh, I totally understand.
yeah,
But I do think the pinnacle of it was, though, when her privacy is leaked and everything's shown, and instead of like doing the whole actual like, hey, who is the one that did this, that's her own privacy, everyone's like entitled to it, it was just like, what did this woman do wrong? And the whole thing of sometimes people are just looking for an excuse
yeah,
to villainize them. And that is an example of that when that occurs. And it was incredibly fucked up. And I did appreciate that it was just like, you guys being shitheads for not going after who we all know should do it. Like, literally, you see the guys that are doing it, and she catches one, and the police are like, Walter, stop being angry about all this shit, and
Yeah,
stop hulking out.
you're being a danger to society
Yeah, and it's just
by
like,
catching the dudes who are like leaking your private info to a crowded room. Like, what the?
yeah. And from what I heard, they did like a lot of the writing came from like they read a bunch of like Reddit threads, I guess, or something,
That makes
and
a
we're
lot of
getting it
sense
from
because they
there.
literally showed a lot of like almost after every episode. I don't know. Every once in a while, they would show like angry internet comments essentially, and it's like, no, I'm sure there are literally people talking exactly about this. Like, one of them that popped up on screen was like, "What happened to the male Hulk? We're making everything female now." It's just like, yeah, I'm sure there actually is someone online that actually is saying that shit.
Yeah. And for those that like, yes, we were getting a lot of female characters. I think the funny I forget where I saw it, but you knew it was a shit post tweet when someone said, "Yeah, all these like new ones and next generation," and one of them they said was Black Widow. And I'm like, the first one was Black Widow, was female too. What are you
Yeah,
making shit up in your head for? Um, and I've said it before, like I'm actually like incredibly excited for Yelena, Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, and like, I guess this is really the only 2. Um, I'm trying to like, there's not as many as you guys think there are. It's like, okay, I guess now like Ironheart, Black Panther for like Iron Man and Black Panther again, but that makes sense considering
yeah.
the history of everything that's been going on. And
I don't think Gwyneth Paltrow is gonna come back as safety or rescue. What?
Rescue, yeah, it
Yeah,
was Rescue. And I don't think people care for her to come back either, to be honest. Like,
no.
honestly, I think she'll probably be an Ironheart though, just because if she's getting closer to like Iron Man shit, I would imagine her and Happy showing up.
Yeah, because they've said she's gonna be in Iron Wars, Armor Wars.
Armor Wars with Don Cheadle, yeah,
Yeah.
for War Machine stuff. Which the concept for that seems interesting, and it's like the farthest
Did I
one
hear
away
they're
from all
turning
the
that
different.
into a movie instead of a show
It
now?
might be. I don't know. I mean, it seems like I don't think they're going to do any more Falcon Winter Soldier show now that they're doing Captain America 4 and Thunderbolts. So each one is respectively going to be in a movie.
Yeah.
So there's not as much of a point for
Yo,
them
I
to
can't
come
wait
back
to see
again.
Harrison Ford as General Ross.
And it's going to be crazy. But back to the whole She-Hulk thing. So like as we were saying, like they did a good job at least with certain points. I mean, the overall message they did a great job with it.
Yeah.
Of emitting the female hurdles of just being alive, really, of just trying to live your day. And then, like I said, did the best job in like I guess technically the end of the second to last episode. It wasn't the last episode. That was kind of like the repercussions of it all. Along with like I would say the first few episodes are just like those dudes that come up to attack her that one time at night, and they're just like, "We're here to stop you being you." It's just like, "Oh, okay, bro, thanks."
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it was all good. Otherwise, though, like the overall thing of like I guess Jennifer Walters as a character, it was very much like hit or miss depending on what was going on. Just because she wasn't really she felt more like a vessel for the story than actually a character really being developed into all this different stuff, if that makes sense.
Now that you mention it, kinda. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, they don't really do much with her in terms of just, like, she's just it's like, "Hey, we're gonna show you all these experiences that occur, but otherwise, like, there's no real, 'Hey, this is what she does,' or anything like that." It's like, she's just trying to be a lawyer still, and will talk to you
And somehow it keeps
through
getting
the
roped into
screen.
shit like Wong being like, "Hey, She-Hulk, I need your help killing a bunch of demons."
Yeah.
Because this idiot magician tried to use real magic.
But, yeah, she was very much just kind of whatever in terms of just as a character, I guess you could say. But,
Yeah, I don't
um
know. I thought she was funny, but yeah, like now that you mention it, it was more like shit happened around her and
Yeah.
not like
I
she
mean, the whole
was the
thing
agent of the
they
show.
overplay their hand a lot where when she's talking to the screen because she's like, "Oh, cameo stuff." And you're like, "Yeah, cameos?" I mean, I didn't expect cameos to be honest. I just thought like you said Abomination and Hulk and you guys showed Daredevil in the trailer and it's like, "Okay, that's 3 people." And I guess Wong that like the trailer really is the thing that it wasn't supposed to be a cameo show. That was their own fault once they started showing trailers with all the characters that were gonna be in it. So they give you the idea of the cameos and then go, I know you guys wanted all these cameos. And it's
They
like,
might have done that on purpose though, because literally most of the show, or like the point in the end, is about like you have all these expectations. Why do you start with these expectations? Like you should just go in and enjoy what happens, I guess, or enjoy the ride, I
but
guess.
that's self-sabotage.
Well, that's exactly, and that's the thing. It's like they're literally intentionally, which is kind of, I want to say it's kind of interesting and clever, at least on the marketing side, to take the message of the writing of the show and work that into the marketing to plant the seeds of like this is what it's gonna be like. Expect this shit, and then in the show be like, don't expect it. Why would you expect that?
Yeah, I
No,
think
but then the show ends up having like a cameo in like basically every episode anyway. So
yeah, to an extent.
then like, well, what's your point then?
Some are like lesser than others, especially because you're just kind of like, was that okay? Did that count? I guess that counted. You're saying that counted, sure, whatever. But that is, yeah, ultimately the show's undoing, I would say, where it becomes where they get that point across, and the cost of it is that it doesn't feel like a show. It just feels like a lesson project that you just watched, and you're like,
Yeah,
"Oh, I get the lessons you were trying to give me. Thank you." And it's like, "Well, how'd you like the show?" And you're like, "That was a show." Like by the end of it, you're like, "Oh, sure, dude. Whatever you say, I guess." Poor Visit Effects team who had to do a whole project that wasn't
yeah.
even
Like
a show.
I don't know if I'm crazy, but it just feels like each episode had like not a completely different feel, but like kind of like it didn't have a consistent feel throughout the entire season. And maybe that's because like one episode was a wedding episode, and like one episode was an actual court drama, and then
Yeah.
like Daredevil stuff.
I
So
mean, that
it didn't feel consistent, and
yeah, and
especially
if
since the
they
last
try to
episode was
go
all
that
just like,
route, they didn't do a good job of it. If you
yeah,
wanted an example of at least doing that variety and keeping it in one show, like a WandaVision, they did a good job in terms of doing that type of like, hey, this is the 30s, 40s, whatever, and like each decade as it goes on.
yeah,
Whether or not I thought that show was ultimately great or just kind of still average, just doing some interesting stuff, but still keeping it within that, like doing it successfully at least. I would say that show is an example of doing the right version of it, whereas this show's doing just kind of like a little too many points at once, and it overplays its hand.
yeah,
Uh, Otherwise, getting into, I guess, the really fat, not, I don't want to call them cameos, and we already more or less talked about Wong, but Hulk, Abomination, Daredevil, Scar, those ones. Abomination I thought was done fine. Like it's been so long to the point where like it did remind me where I actually am kind of already exhausted out of Mark Ruffalo's Hulk just because he's a comedy relief character more than anything.
yeah, for the most
And
part.
it honestly, the longer they do this shtick of him and all these projects and everything else, the more it, I would say, I know people are going to probably give me shit for it or say I'm wrong, but it improves the um enjoyment for the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton, where it does feel like, oh, hey, it's the Hulk as Hulk. We only get him there, and then you could sort of say he's like that in Avengers, and maybe that like maybe Thor Ragnarok to an extent, and that's about it. Like Infinity War, he's there for a second,
Well, we get that one scene in
and don't you all any of
Age
you
of
say fucking
Ultron.
Age of Ultron?
Well,
God,
where he's like actually like wrecking a city and showing like how dangerous he can be if he goes like uncontrolled.
It was fine, but it got drowned out by the other thing they did with it. Oh, you gotta bang black widow. She needs to.
Oh,
Yeah, that was fucking whatever. Oh my god, that was so stupid. But yeah, no, it's really the Edward Norton stuff is the real Hulk. And it was the one where, hey, this is a man trying to manage his rage. Everything else is just like, oh, an evil spell has come upon you, and or oh no, like Purple Grimace is about to fucking fight Hulk and made him afraid to be Hulk anymore.
this
And
is
now
why I
we have
really wish
fucking
they had
Taco
done
Hulk.
like, I really wish at some point, and maybe they could still do it, but I would like them to do a movie that shows how Mark Ruffalo like Bruce Banner did the whole, because all we got in Endgame was I spent like a year and a half in a gamma lab and now look at me now. And the actual storyline in the comics for how Bruce Banner basically conquered his inner demons and learned how to get over a lot of his personal like trauma to merge his personalities to become Professor Hulk, where he's like both smart and strong, is actually a really cool story. And it's so unfortunate to me that we got Professor Hulk. They straight up call him Professor Hulk and they just skip over it.
I think it's unfortunate that we got Professor Hulk, to be honest.
Well,
Completely
this
just
version, sure.
well, just in general, especially this soon. Like we had a Hulk movie.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Is they could have done like a whole other movie, like to flesh out this
Not even
Hulk,
that.
but
I
they
don't
just
even want.
haven't.
I don't even care about that. I just mean like we didn't even really get the Hulk as just the Hulk. Doing
Eh,
Hulk shit. Like I thought we should have gotten more of that. And then you could. It's like, dude, Iron Man had 3 fucking movies, not to mention all the shit in Avengers that built up. Captain America got 3 movies and all the shit that built up. Thor got a bunch of bullshit everywhere. He was thrown around and kept changing characters. And it's I liked individual pieces of them, but otherwise it's a fucking mess. But the Hulk, like, he just kind of got the shit under the stick, and I get the whole
for
universal
sure.
rights and everything else.
Oh yeah,
But
that
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 was
too.
they use that as an excuse to turn the like a tragic, angry character into a fucking joke. And I've never appreciated it since then. And they could have done a better job with it, but they chose not to. And here we are now, where he shows up with this fucking bad haircut son, and it's just awful.
I did like
And
the
he
one
also
joke
looks
where
like shit.
I did like the one joke where he's like, "Oh, Emil, like, yeah, no, I talk to him every once in a while. We're like, we settled our shit. Like, like that fight was so long ago. I was practically a different person. Like, that was kind of funny.
It was funny, but it was also it just made me remember, and then I went,
It just
"Oh,
made you more
right," and it
mad.
was yeah, it just made me yeah, yeah, then I got it. He goes like, "Hulk, man."
uh,
Yeah, so it's just like it's one of those things where you go, "Hey, wait a minute."
yeah.
So yeah, that, but otherwise Abomination was
Oh, you're
fine.
right. Back to Abomination. Like, I don't know. It's like I thought this version of Emil was funny, but like at the same time, he's literally a completely different character, personality wise, from how he was the last time we saw him.
Yeah, there he's just like, "Oh yeah,
Also,
prison did a lot to me for however fucking many years it's been since, like, The Incredible Hulk came out." I guess it was, like,
yeah.
2008?
I also could have sworn that part of Abomination's deal is that he can't turn back, but like
Shit,
whatever.
it's been, like, 14 years.
I guess for the purposes of this show, he can. So whatever.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
It just it made it so it went from, "Oh, I can't wait for this character to come back," to, "I don't care anymore." Like,
Yeah, it's kind of weird because like,
they did a successful job of making something not interesting anymore, I
well, yeah, no,
think.
he showed up in Shang-Chi, and you're like, "Whoa, holy shit, it's Abomination fighting Wong for some reason. Like, how does that happen?" And like, that's interesting. Like, oh, I guess Wong is taking him back to a cell of some sort. That's interesting, and it turns out to be, linked to She-Hulk, and yeah, it just turns out that he got out of that fight just because Wong needed a favor. That
Yeah.
was it.
I mean, by the end of it, Wong shows up and gets him out again, and you just assume that he's going to the, what's the fucking magic place called?
Camertage
Yeah, I just assume he's
or
taking him
whatever.
there because he's
Oh
probably
yeah.
like, "Oh, you don't wanna go back to prison." He's like, "Nah, I don't wanna go back there. Let's
Yeah,
just
and I'm like,
take me here
why is
instead."
Wong like doing a prison break for him? Like, I didn't get the sense that they're like friends. He just needed to fight a strong enemy for
I
his
mean,
like
now it's just I
initiation or
guess they
whatever.
became friends. I don't know, but
I guess so.
and I wouldn't leave him there. He just he went back to prison just for transforming. It's just like, so? Who cares? Even though it's like for he literally was doing the most American thing. He was doing it for money. He was doing it for capitalism.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, oh no, he's doing
No,
American shit.
okay, so and then that's another problem with the way the final episode happened was like because Jennifer like rewrote everything so that none of it happened. It was like, wait, so then why is Emil going to prison? Because did
No,
he
that's
still do
so
the
I think most of it
show?
happened, or at least half of it happened, enough where he was discovered as Abomination showing up to talk, and then from there, it was just, like, before Hulk shows up, before Titania shows up, before I guess that dude gets the Hulk serum, they just go like, "You're going to jail," and it's like, "Oh, okay." That's the thing.
Okay.
It was still fucking messy,
Yeah.
and it just defeated the whole purpose of like half the storyline in previous episodes.
I did love she's like, and also throw like Matt coming back in because I'd like to see him again.
That felt.
And he
I
just
was
shows up
like,
at he
I
shows up at like the
forgot
very end.
that.
He's like, "Hey Jen, I came to help out. Is everything good?" Uh,
I did like the. I mean, it's funny because then it's like you want to say, yeah, that felt really forced, and it's like it was actually forced. It was incredibly forced. They even
yeah,
point out that it was forced, and you're like, oh, okay. It I feel like the annoying part of this show is that it's like they intentionally do bad shit in the quality depleting stuff and go, "We meant to do this." And it's part of the show. And it's like so you made a you did bad shit in the show to say that you did bad shit in the show and think that that makes the show better. And I'm
pretty much.
It's like having I don't know, it's like having it's like when South Park when Carmen shits on the desk. It's like, "Oh, Carmen shit on the desk." And it's like, "Dude, that's disgusting." And it's like, "I did it because it's disgusting to point it out." And it's like, "Okay, there's still shit on the desk."
Yeah, and like I can't think of an example right now, but it's like there are times where you could do something like that and it can come off as clever. But most of the time, it's just like you did a thing you set out to annoy me, and so you have, and now I just am not enjoying myself.
I'll put
It,
it also this way. We're in a world now where Marvel has dug its own hole where each show and movie are coming out at a disadvantage because they've taken quantity over quality to a maximum. And now you are always now expecting low quality. And, that makes it in a way somewhat easy to not, I don't want to say easy, but I guess easier to jump out if you can do a good job of something and really show what movie or show like what are the good qualities of this? How can you make it special and stand out? Like, how are you going to pull it
yeah,
off?
all,
And doing this is something that it's like, okay, maybe if you did this and there was a lot less stuff, maybe it would pass better. But for the fact that I'm already bored and tired of getting so much I'm fatigued. You're taking something where I'm already fatigued with all your fucking projects, and you're doing this, and you're going, "Hey, clever, isn't it?" And I'm like, "No, I'm exhausted." And you do this and think this is fucking good. Like, is this a joke? And yeah, it is a joke, and it does not work. I think this is what there were certain parts that were enough to make me not care already that I could overlook it and be more generous and say it wasn't bad, that it was indifferent. That's what I'd say.
I
Yeah,
guess your enjoyment in the end or at the end of the season is gonna revolve around like how much do you like meta commentary? Because if you're into that kind of stuff, then the whole end of the season being a literal commentary on like Marvel like content in general, it that can be interesting, but it just ended up being for me just more confusing than anything and
and
just
for me, a
strange.
slog.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, but no, I mean, like also back to like just there having to be so many Marvel properties or Marvel things happening at once. Like because another problem is that they have to have some percentage of each show or movie set aside to connect to other stuff in the
and
universe at this
move
point.
to the next. They'd be like, "Oh, next time on Marvel," and you're like,
So at this point, I'm not sure if they could even do like single story like passion projects where someone is just like, I really just want to do a story with like this character that I'm interested in
I mean, they can.
because it
They
has
they
to
did it.
be at some point connected to something else for
Girl by
whatever
Night
reason.
did a good job of it, and
That's
that felt
fair.
very
But they
good.
also were like, let's throw in
Shang-Chi,
Man Thing.
I mean, yeah, but that worked, and
That's
that
true.
was unrelated to anything else. You haven't seen Man Thing in anything else.
That's
That's why I
true.
was like, "Alright." Whereas Shang-Chi, I think still has the next time when it's like, hey, potential Fing Fang Foom reference, but also
Yeah.
here's fucking Captain Marvel and Hulk and Captain Marvel. They're like, hey, did we make her funny yet? It's like, no, she still fucking sucks, dude. And
Yeah.
like
Here's
Wong is just
Loki
there with
dealing with
karaoke.
yeah, here's Loki dealing with like time crimes, sort of. Or
And you're like, oh,
what
is it standalone?
and it's
No,
like,
it's literally
no,
with
we're
the
gonna
big
introduce
bad of the entire
Kang.
phases for the next 3 phases or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay.
I was like,
Okay.
I was not expecting you to see a reference or yeah, like a reference to Kang
Yeah.
in
But anyway,
Loki.
I mean, okay, that's really Hulk and Abomination. Scar, I mean, he looks like shit. That's it. That's
I
all I
don't even know
got.
if we need to talk about it because he's
I don't
literally
even.
just
I
there.
wish he didn't exist now. I'm like, oh, it's like one of those things where you, oh, I hope we get Scar, then they give you Scar. It's like, can you send it back to the kitchen? I want to order something else now. Thanks.
It's just like it's disappointing to me because it would have been really cool to see that as like an actual revelation on screen of like Bruce being like, "Holy shit, I have a son."
I mean, looking at all their
And
different Hulk versions, I think made me just hate all the designs and hate like it made me kind of
it just
disgusted with the
bothers
green.
me that Scar is basically like he's not even a character in this. He just shows up to just be like, hey, here's a reference to one of the next Marvel things. We're gonna do Planet Hulk, sort of, kind of, because Scar exists. And it's just like, you seriously introduced a character just as a to reference something happening later, like an important character. You're just using it as a
Yes.
reference.
I mean, all the greens made it's like when in Marvel Comics when they do the giant crossover tie-in cash grabs, like everyone turns into a Hulk, everyone turns into a symbiote, and it's just like, oh,
Uh,
great. It's like, yeah, please buy our comics. But God. Last one, Daredevil. Yeah,
I
it's all
liked
right.
him, but it just like it felt weird because he was definitely like not quite as like broody as he was in the Marvel or in the Netflix stuff.
I
Which,
get what they're
to be
trying to
fair,
do
he's not
different
the
stuff.
same character,
He is.
but he kind of is.
He is the same character.
They've been a
They,
little unclear about that.
they said it's the same one from Netflix.
Oh, have they said that
Yeah, him
explicitly?
and Kingpin are the same exact versions. That's why everyone's like, "Oh, cool." So that's why everyone wants everyone else now. They're like, "We want Punisher and Punisher and Punisher and then Punisher."
Wait, so did they also basically say that all the same events happened too?
I think to an extent, yeah.
Huh, okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that
I
all
can't
of
believe I
it's
missed
in
that.
there. Yeah, they it wasn't in the show. They talk about it in like news and everything else. They like
Hmm,
confirmed it.
okay.
And that's the whole thing with like Born Again is like, hey, we're still continuing all this stuff. Like it's not over.
I guess
But
that's why I was confused. I thought Born Again was like literally we're rebooting Daredevil.
I mean, to an extent they are, but it's still everything still happened. It's just
Yeah.
like
Okay.
we're taking it in a different direction because obviously it's on Disney Plus and not on Netflix anymore. So the maturity level is probably going to go down, most likely. And I do get that they're doing this new iteration of him. It's just it had its good and its bad. That's I guess what I want to say. The good was showing him in the court being Matt Murdock. That was good. They showed
Mhm.
him as Daredevil and the new suit, and I was fine with the suit. I felt weird that that dude was designing his suit, considering like I don't know if he's did the other guy die that designed his suit
I
before?
guess that's another reason why I'm confused about like how much of the original thing exists. Because like, what happened to his old suit? Did he have an old suit? Yeah. Why is he getting a suit? He even said like a few suits from this new guy.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, so that's not what I mean though. It's like, okay, well, we know what happened to his last suit. Fucking Bullseye took it and Matt was
oh
using the
yeah,
old original suit, the black suit. And I get like why he'd want because Bullseye kind of what would you call it?
framed him.
No. What's when you he corrupted the red suit in a way for Matt, I guess, because the way he was wearing it
Oh,
and utilizing it
tainted
on
it.
his own. Yeah, he tainted it. And why I'd want a new look. But the thing is, like, Matt had a guy that was designing his suits and like doing all the shit for it. The dude who like I don't know if something happened to him or not. I don't remember now. I guess something did. You know what? I'll give it a pass that they like work in that he works. He like gets this stuff from this guy now instead. It's like he went from the locally he went from the locally bought store to the fucking Walmart of superheroes, basically, in terms of design, I guess you could say. He just is like, "Nah, I'll just take the big corporate one." Whereas
Yeah.
the other dude worked in his garage or something when he was designing all the stuff, which did make it a lot more intimate, which is what something I appreciated and had a, like, full connection with Matt, but, I get it. You gotta do this thing, so I won't, like, go against it. I won't, like, knock points for that or anything. Um, Otherwise, he was good up until I think like, even the walk of shame,
That
like,
was a really funny joke. I'll give him that.
yeah, I thought it was fine. I thought it was weird that for some reason he wasn't wearing his shoes. I think that was a little
Yeah,
bit
I don't know why
forced
you do that.
because I guess there's a thing where it's like, oh yeah, the girl's walking home with her
But,
heels in
it's
her hand,
for
right?
sure. It
Is
was
that supposed to
definitely
be?
for the joke, it was supposed to be, like, just completing the image or
Yeah,
whatever, but it practically, yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of
yeah. They do a
sense.
lot of impracticality with it, and it's just like you're trying to put effort into something like this, but you're putting a half-assed effort just to make it
You're
fit.
not thinking about it the whole way through.
Yeah, and, I get it, but at the same time, do better, is what I'd say, because you could still get the point across without having to make have to it's like you're making it that the audience won't get it because is it that they lack the intelligence to not understand what's going on in that concept, or do you have to basically put it out right in front of you, just like, "Look what he's doing, look what he's holding, isn't it like, can you see it?" Um
I could actually see that they'd be like, "Is it too vague if he's not holding his
Yeah,
shoes?"
which, I could be insulting for the average person maybe, but I guess they're probably okay, I will say though, there probably are a shit ton of people that'd be like, "I don't get it."
Well, that's the
And
thing, like, if
but
he's
that's the
not
thing,
holding his
I
shoes,
bet
he'd
they
literally
still
just be, like, walking down the street, and it's
I
just like,
bet you I
"Why'd they
bet
do
you
that?"
anything, they'd still be like even with the shoes, I bet there were a bunch of people going like, "I don't get it."
Oh, for sure.
So, at
I'm
the
sure
same
there's a
time,
bunch of
it
people that have
probably
never heard of, like, the
the
walk of
walk of shame,
shame.
yeah, and it's like eh, the whole role reversal, it's like, "Oh, look, the guy did it," and it's like, "And?"
I don't know, it was funny.
What else? It's like, dude, I've done it myself. I've done the walk of shame, and it was actually kind of funny. And I wore shades, and I was like, "Oh, what's going on, guys?" But like, I straight up I came into my like roommate's when I lived with my roommates downtown in Savannah. I was just like looking around, just like it's fucking bright, guys. But like, yeah, otherwise, the last episode, we already said it was forced, where it's just like and they point out that it's forced. "Hey, can Matt come by again at the end?" It's like, "Oh, hey, Matt's here, and he's at a picnic," and they're, like, already talking about marriage and stuff, and they're going out, and I'm like, "Oh, I guess Karen's dead."
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, the whole one night stand, I'm like, "Ah, that's fine, whatever," but it felt weird with the lingering after. I'm just like, "Okay. Alright, guys, I get it," but I don't know. Uh I guess when you think about it, you're not really thinking about She-Hulk when you think about Daredevil, you're thinking like Karen and Elektra, and then you're just kinda like, "Man, after all that shit we went through too." But
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know, I guess the
Uh,
one last thing, I thought it was really funny that before the show even came out, people were complaining about, like, "There's something about She-Hulk that she doesn't look quite right. I mean, Marvel has so much money, like, why does she not look better?" And the director or someone made the comment of like, "That's silly because men are trying to basically say they own how a woman's body should look," and people are just like, "No, it just looks weird." Like, and now it's like, "Oh, no, it's not just her." Like, literally all the Hulks in this show look fucking weird.
yeah,
Like, the Hulk King looks weird. Even Bruce looks fucking weird from time to time, and I don't know if it's the lighting or what, and, like, yeah, everyone tore the shit out of, Scar just looking completely weird. So,
he
it's not
barely
just
moved for a reason.
so it's just really weird that the director tried to defend it as like, "Oh, that's just men being sexist and saying that they think she should look a different way." It's like, "No, it was literally just the CG looks
Yeah.
weird." And
That's the
it's
thing
true
too,
for all of it in this show.
I will say, just always be on like, that's the thing that's become a more of a corporate trend, is they start using things as shields to deflect quality.
Yeah,
Where or comments about quality, where they'll start using everything from race, gender, I guess like sexual orientation, all that kind of stuff, to just like I said, deflect from any type of critique that
legitimate
is
critique.
unrelated to it. Yeah. And it just be on the lookout because a lot of stuff like you think you're like, I can't believe someone would say something about blah blah. And it's like they aren't, they're actually just talking about the quality. have to like I'm not going to say all the time because it's not true because there's still a lot of people that are, very, I guess you could say, bigoted or
Oh, for sure.
prejudiced and all this stuff and, bad
Unfortunately.
thoughts and all this stuff. But there's still a good amount that isn't that at all. And it's just corporations trying to make you riled up to deflect so they go, oh, thank God they didn't see the fucking, it's just cardboard behind it. So there's no actual set. It's just bullshit behind here because it's fake. It's not good quality. It's trash. And I I'd like to think that a lot of people probably can differentiate the actual, like, bigot comments from the actual critiques that occur,
Yeah.
when it's stuff like this, because this is like yeah, it's just corporations taking advantage of it, and we're all the ones that lose in the end, not them. So, be on the lookout for that. But I think that's everything for She-Hulk. Like I said, indifferent. You liked it a little bit more than me, but let's move
Yeah.
on
I still
to
thought individual episodes were fun, but yeah, overall it was just kind of fine.
yeah. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and honestly, I was really hoping we wouldn't keep frailing She-Hulk because now it took longer than expected.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's what I was like. I was trying to really, I was like, stop. But Wakanda Forever. There's one movie that I could compare this to, and people would not expect me to say this, but I think it suffers from the same exact problems that Batman v Superman suffered from. Where it had a lot going on in it, and because of that, it was the I would say it was the negative aspect of that movie, where it just kind of over bloated itself. And
Oh, for sure.
yeah, that's what I mean. Because both movies try to layer way too much within them.
Well,
And
Batman v Superman basically tried to sandwich two very different, very important graphic
yeah,
novels together into one plot,
I've said it
and
before, like it's like
I don't know
five different
why.
things going on in that movie, and you're
Uh,
just kind of like, oh my God. And then Wakanda Forever, like I'm watching it and the movie ends, and I looked at you and I'm like, dude, I don't remember the first like half of this
yeah, they
movie
had to cover a
already.
bunch of shit in this movie because, like, it literally starts with like, "Oh shit, T'Challa's dying," and I was like really surprised that they got to that like immediately.
I think I was
But
more shocked because we didn't have because it was more of like a screening, so there wasn't trailers.
also,
So
yeah,
I
that
was
too. I
it,
was
it
like,
was so
"Oh shit,
abrupt that I think that
I guess we're
added
in it
to it.
now."
If it was actual trailers, I think it would have been like a lot more. It would have taken that intensity away a little bit in terms
Maybe.
of like unexpectedness. We're like, oh shit,
But yeah,
but
like so they had to cover the death of T'Challa for some reason, and they were still pretty vague on that. He just died of a disease.
I mean,
Um,
you understand why they covered it because they had to say, oh, this is why this character's not there.
well,
They
for
just
sure, because the actual actor
yeah,
died, which is just tragic.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
yeah, we already talked about
so
that in an episode. So
so T'Challa needed to die and be replaced, so they had to introduce a new Black Panther, and then also Namor shows up out of nowhere, and Ironheart shows
yep,
up. Uh, and then is there anything else that this
yes.
movie covered?
So we have those four things that are going. So these are the main four of like, okay, the passing of a main character. You have the coming of age, more or less, for another character. You have the introduction of two new characters, one of which has his own fucking kingdom, and that kingdom's origin, not to mention his. So you have that all going
Yeah.
on.
I we did not get enough of Taylor Khan.
You have Queen Mother and her issues. You have the Dormelage, and
Oh yeah,
like you have three different characters, like
they
two
did have
characters
their
more or
own side
less
thing.
going on with stuff. You have American shit going on with Everett Ross and what's her face, Julia Louis Dreyfus's
Man,
character.
there were a lot of subplots, huh?
And yeah, so you have all that. You sort of a little bit Jabari stuff, kind of. I don't want to count that honestly. Yeah, I'd say so. There's like these eight things going on throughout this movie, and you're just kind of like trying to follow it all, and you're just kind of like, ooh, like it's they give a lot, and because of it, it does a negative aspect for the film, which I'll start off also saying, I don't think this movie is bad. I don't think this movie is
No, I still
indifferent.
think it was pretty good.
I think
I had
yeah,
a
it
lot of fun
was.
with it.
I would say it's between okay to good, for me, and I still had I would say enjoyment on it. I enjoyed the film, and it had a lot of characters I liked. easily. In fact, it had new characters I really liked and wanted a lot more of, but we couldn't because there's already so much going on. It's like 2.5 hours. And
Yeah,
I will
it's
say
such a
too,
shame. Like we got like Namor was pretty cool, and like they introduced Talocon, and they built like a sun out of vibranium or something, and I'm like, holy shit, what else do they got? We don't get to see it.
yeah, and there's no like, I guess one of the mystery movies could be like a Submariner movie, maybe or something. I'm not really
Mm,
sure
maybe.
what they're gonna do. If he's just gonna be a side character in other movies, or if he actually is gonna get his own thing. Because have they still haven't done any Mexican stuff, have they? Really? Like,
Not that I can think of
no.
specifically
Mm. Oh, we still got Blue Beetle at least. Uh, but
for now.
yeah, they're not gonna scrap that, dude. I have said it before. It's safe. Um,
I hope you're right.
it,
I would
it
like to
it's
see
safe.
that.
It's fine. They're not gonna get rid of. I don't think they're gonna get rid of anything else. But oh, I will say, I think really fast. They said the James Gunn plan is going to show up in the next 2 months. Is what they're gonna unveil the
Oh, what his
DC.
timeline's gonna be?
Yeah,
Interesting.
because I think they've been working on it already, so I think they're ready to like show what's going on. Anyway,
Cool.
yeah, so you have all those different things going on, and it does like do a negative aspect to the film. It just kind of gives you way too much. Where I think another thing, this like in terms of just like so many things going on in like of story that hits the BVS side, but in terms of just so many characters happening, including new ones, and trying to like balance it all, that then gets into Eternals territory where you can't do too much with all
Yeah.
the characters because you have too many characters. So you kind of try to balance it to an extent,
And
but it
if
gets
you
pretty
break it up
crazy.
evenly, like not every character seems to get like okay, at least for Eternals, it made sense to try to cover each person individually. But for this movie, it's just like certain things definitely could have used more focus. And the more I think about it, as interesting as it is to introduce Riri Williams in Ironheart, I really don't think she had to be in this movie. And I would have rather them spend the time that they had spent building her up into giving us more about Talokan and Namor because like that stuff was so interesting to me. Like the fact that they had like water grenades that seemed to just like expand, like they had compressed water almost. Like I wanted to know more about their technology and just like their culture. It was super interesting because they were literally just like Mayans that escaped the Spanish by
Yeah.
becoming mer people.
And
It's
then coming
really
out and
interesting.
seeing like all the Spanish and being like, oh, you guys suck. And then start killing them
Yeah,
all. I was like, yes, yes.
that was actually pretty
That's
satisfying.
the most satisfying part of the whole movie. I was like,
Uh,
just do it. Kill them, please. But like,
the Spanish dude's just like, "You're a demon child." Like, okay.
shut up, syphilis. You fucking walking syphilis piece of shit. Um, yeah, yeah, syphilis is in this movie too, guys. It's another character that I wasn't expecting to show up, and I was just like, oh
Yeah.
shit, he's here. But
The Spanish brought the smallpox. Almost killed my old people.
yeah, really. Where I can't find Julie Lee Streffers in here. All right, whatever. I can't remember her character's
Yeah,
name.
her character that no one remembers keeps showing up.
Yeah, I think that was probably of all the characters that I would have been fine getting cut, it was probably her.
Also,
Because
yeah,
she was
probably.
the time that she was in there, you could have probably put to anything else.
It just
But
ends
that
up with like Ross getting like arrested,
yeah.
but then
And then
Okoye just
the
like busts him out in her weird suit.
yeah, the fucking oh yeah, we'll talk about that soon. We will get to that. But uh yeah, definitely the white parts were probably the weakest, guys.
For sure.
I will like really fast, just I guess covering those areas because more or less we're gonna talk as we go through it. We're gonna kind of jump
Why
through.
was Ross in this movie? He really wasn't there.
He
He
was
wasn't
like
important at
he
all.
was the problem solving. It was
I
like, oh, we need
guess.
to find the person. Oh, here's the location of the person. Anything else can I do to help? No. Oh, let me just warn you via this stuff. So yeah, I
Oh
would
yeah, he
say
literally just put them on the trail of Riri, and that was
yeah,
it.
yeah. Once they
Huh.
found Riri, it's just like, oh, okay. And that is something they could have done on their own where they honestly
Mhm.
it would have been acceptable where they go, oh, it's an American blah blah, and it's like, oh, we tried hacking in and looking up to like who has this type of thing, and we narrowed it down, and it's apparently this person. Who is she? oh, she's located here. Wow, let's go there. And then they appear there. And
Well,
then
they
boom,
literally
problem solved.
mentioned, like, while analyzing the vibranium detector, that it's like some of it looks like high tech, but like other parts look like it's salvaged from like a junkyard. Maybe they source the like parts to a specific junkyard somewhere, and they're like, "Hey, maybe she lives around here,"
Well, I mean, no, they could have just done a hacking thing and been like,
or
this is the
that.
person
Like,
that did
there's
it.
they could
Like,
have
that's
done
what I'm
any number
saying.
of
You don't have to
things.
do all this extra stuff
Hmm.
to do that. Like, the
This
time
movie
was,
didn't need to be 2.5 hours with all these things.
yeah. So they definitely could have. And I'm not saying, I like long movies. Don't get me wrong. I do. The Batman, Lord of the Rings, Good, the Bad, the Ugly,
Hmm.
like Westerns, all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
It's just
if it
depending
feels
on,
worth your time, for
yeah,
sure.
if the like, if you think it's something that makes sense to do it and the audience can maintain their, I guess, recollection of it once it's done, then you've done a good job. Whereas this one, I think, like I said, I we came out the movie and I was like, "Yo, dude, I'm having trouble remembering like the first like quarter to a third of that fucking
Yeah.
movie at this point."
Remember when the French attacked Wakanda and they were just
Uh,
like, "Yo, here's your agents
oh
back."
shit, that's right. I forgot that already. This movie's too fucking long. Oh my god. But going through, like I said, the white stuff real fast, like we have two things. I guess we could do the French part after because then we could just kind of loop that into Angela Bassett. The whole thing I think that kind of did rile me up in a good, like, not like I'm angry that they did it, but it riled me up of like a god damn it America, was when they do have Ross and they're like talking about Wakanda and they're like,
Oh yeah.
we're gonna have to,
The president wants retaliation.
yeah,
Like, what do you mean?
destabilization. And I'm just like, fuck, I hate this this
Yeah,
country
like,
sucks sometimes.
if anyone listening to this doesn't know what that means, look up what the United States did in like either Iran or Guatemala, or I'm
Many parts
blanking.
of South, like Haiti.
Yeah, like we
Uh
dude, like the CIA is scary
yeah,
at how good they are at just like figuring out a way to destabilize a nation if we are worried that their government might be unfriendly to us.
yeah, or just they aren't doing something in our interest because
Yeah.
basically, more or less, their interests do not matter, is the
Most
bottom line. Their interests do not matter. And our interest doesn't mean the interest of our people. It means the interest of usually big companies or wallets of the
yeah,
politicians or big
generally.
companies, basically. And if it doesn't line up, they will destroy democracies and install dictatorships
Yeah.
for their own pockets, basically. That
There's
is
a
literally a truth. That is a fact.
there's a dark history behind the term banana republic that everyone should know, and that store should be ashamed for having that name.
Yeah, it's really, really fucked up. But that's why I really appreciated this. And I was when after that kind of happens and they show all those people getting killed at that like rig, I'm just kind of like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I don't care. But like,
But yeah, I was like super not surprised that the United States government was like immediately try to destabilize Wakanda because
and then
that's
and
what
the
we
French are
do.
just like, yeah, we tried to break in, and I'm like, of course, the imperial fucking
Uh,
countries that are known for doing some of the most atrocious shit in history are doing this, and it's just like, yeah, I'm not surprised. So it was satisfying seeing them get like in different forms, they're just desserts or just
yeah,
like getting that kind of stuff. Uh, Afterwards, though, like we get that from like Angela Bassett's character, the Queen. What was her name? Queen, with an R, I think, right? Wasn't it?
yeah. Oh, I'm so bad with names.
I could find it one second. Fuck off IMDb. I don't want to see all this shit. Ramonda, Queen
Right.
Ramonda. Uh, you get a lot of great performance from her. She
Oh
does a great
yeah,
job, especially like the scene where she expels Okoye from the Dorminage.
that was an amazing speech for
Yeah.
sure.
But
Super emotional because yeah,
yeah,
like basically her entire family is either missing or dead.
pretty much. And through it, you see her trying to help Shuri move on and live again to an extent instead of just like like I guess like holding herself up in a lab where she just talks to an AI mostly all the time. And otherwise, yeah, I thought her arcs and stuff were really good. that is an example I would say within it, like I said, the white stuff for the most part, I think half of it could have been cut, one of the characters could have been cut, and would have helped, in terms of either siphoning that length of time to a different part of the story or just shortening that length of time. Whereas, for, Queen Ramonda, I thought everything for her all was good, there was nothing I thought should have been taken out. It was
Yeah.
all pretty much well done. Uh,
I was
yeah, like
shocked they, like, killed her off too.
that was yeah, that was I was not honestly, I was not expecting that whatsoever, and I'm
Yeah.
like, when they're trying to, bring her back, like, from because she drowned, I'm straight up like, "Oh, she'll be breathing in a second," and then she didn't, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh,
I was like, "Oh, shit, they
oh,
fucking
fuck,
killed her off too?
Namor killed her
Jesus."
mom, dude, oh, no."
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just like, "Damn," I was like, "I can't believe Angela Bassett's dead, this sucks." Uh And then, I think more or less, did we you said your points on Riri already, right?
Yeah, like, she just kinda was, like, a plot point. She
Yeah.
like, I thought she was funny, like, her interaction in her dorm room, which dude, her dorm room had so many windows.
Yeah, it did.
But, like, I thought she was funny, like, I I am always a fan of a character in comics or movies that is just, like, super intelligent, and, like, that's that's kinda why I like character I mean, Spider-Man is my favorite hero, probably, but that's also why I'm generally a fan of characters like Iron Man and Batman, because they are mostly just, like, incredibly intelligent, and they know that their intelligence is their greatest asset, so they try to, like, utilize it to the most that they can.
Yeah, Superman's a scientist too.
Superman?
Yeah, the elves were scientists, and he in his fortress is at well, I guess only the
Oh,
fortress, but, like, he'll
yeah.
do scientist shit too, when he's, like, figuring everything out because that whole thing is like a giant kingdom of crazy shit in there,
I guess I
of
never really
alien
thought
stuff.
about that because, like, as
Yeah,
Clark Kent, he's just, like, a reporter, so I just thought that was his
but as
deal.
not as Superman, not as Clark Kent, but as Kal-El, the Kryptonian. He is,
Mm,
scientific background.
okay, I never thought of that.
Yeah, so check it out.
Yeah.
They should explore that some more. But, yeah,
But yeah, so,
I think as Ironheart,
Ironheart.
she'll be an interesting character for
Mhm.
that show.
I definitely wanna see more of her,
Um,
I just think that she was, like, not super necessary for this movie.
yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say, I'm still very neutral on the show as a whole, but that's not a detriment to that show. It's a detriment to just all the Marvel projects coming up. I'm just kind of like, yeah, when it happens, I'll check it out.
Yeah,
For her show, I'm like more of, I guess, like assured at least that it'll be as a character, she should be fine.
yeah,
And I'm not dread. She did a good job in making sure I won't dread the show pre-release, if that makes sense.
yeah,
So in a way, that is a positive. For as good as it can do for all the Marvel stuff currently going on. Just like I said, it's hard for me to get impressed at this point. Uh, Otherwise, we had the Jabari again, M'Baku was there. I always enjoy the Jabari and M'Baku, especially the first movie. I fucking love them. And they maintain just being fun and enjoyable.
yeah,
And M'Baku just giving words of wisdom all the time. Like he was pretty much like I'm glad he became king. I wasn't expecting him to become king, but I was just like, "Oh shit, M'Baku's king. Let's go. This is fun. I'm gonna have fun watching him just like talk shit to politicians from other countries. It's gonna be great." Or I guess they're just more or less closing themselves off to other countries again. It seemed like to an extent. Uh, just
yeah,
if
huh.
the countries, because they still don't know that uh, Namor and all of them exist, so they just still think
Yeah, that's gonna be really
Wakanda's
confusing when Wakanda's like, "We're protecting the oceans now." Like, why? No
to
reason.
to avoid war.
Yeah, because we really like the oceans.
Oh yeah, okay. That's I thought you meant like that in the entire idea. I forgot that you're
No, it's
just
just like,
like seeing
why
it as the
like,
explanation to the
because
countries.
because like, okay, at the very end, like,
No, no, I know what you're talking about. At first, I
yeah.
thought when you were singing, I thought you meant to the idea of when Shuri said it, not to them explaining to other
No, so
countries.
they're like, yeah,
So it
explaining
like
to other
confused me
countries,
for
and
a
it's just like,
second.
"Oh, no reason."
Yeah. Yeah. So M'Baku, fantastic, and then you had the Dora Milaje, and is it Dora Milaje or Dora Milaje? I always forget.
I thought it was Dora Milaje,
Okay,
but,
Dora Milaje. Okay. But yeah, Koye, I would say she's probably one of the best performances of the
oh, yeah,
movie.
no, I really like her character.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, she's if you guys don't know, she's Michonne in Walking Dead, and yeah,
I totally did not see that because she doesn't have the hair or anything.
I'm pretty. I'm I don't know for sure. I'm pretty sure those are all like the prosthetic covering the
Yeah.
hair for them,
Dude,
or
I do
they
love
use CGI to take it out.
I don't
I
know.
feel like because now I'm gonna look at her.
Dude, I do love that, like, when they go to check out, Riri, I don't know why I have
Very,
such a hard
very.
time saying
It's
her
a
name. No, just, like, for
yeah,
some
very.
reason, my mouth has such a hard time saying, like, those 2 syllables back to back, like, quickly. I don't know why. But, like, Shuri is just like, "Give me, like, 5 minutes," and Okoye's like, "Okay, I'll give you 5 minutes." And then, like, she convinces Riri to, like, come with her, and she's like, "Okay, just let me pack up, let me go to the bathroom real quick." She goes
Goes
to
to
the
climb out
bathroom,
the window.
and yeah, I assume she was just trying to escape, and Okoye comes out of the bathroom, just like, "Hey, I had this handled." Like, "I said I'd give you 5 minutes. I give you 6."
Yeah,
Yeah,
you should be happy. I was that generous to
yeah,
you. But yeah, Koya is fantastic. What was not fantastic were the designs of her and I forgot the other Dora Milaje's name. Uh,
yeah.
their suits.
Dude,
I
that's
was
so
just
it's like
like, bro,
the Midnight Angel or
midnight. Yeah, some fucking. I don't care. They
I'm
were
sure
dumb.
it has to be a reference to something in actual Marvel, but,
That
like,
I yeah, but I also just
that suit looked so fucking
that's a deep
weird.
cut that most people, unless you're a diehard Marvel fan, are gonna understand. And I bet you anything there'll be those people, the same people that thought through like when they freaked out in Avengers when they saw Thanos, and I'm like, motherfuckers, you know, most of you don't even know who that is. You're just freaking out to freak out. I know for a fact most of you don't know who the fuck the Midnight Angel shit is.
That's what it
And
was, yeah.
those designs, though, I straight up was watching that, and I'm just like, yo, it's Sector and Cyrax from Mortal
Yeah,
Kombat.
I was like, "Wait, why does it have so many streamers off to the side like, the back of it?" Like, that doesn't feel like that would be helpful at all.
Yeah,
Eh,
they just looked
alright,
ridiculous. I think those are the only designs of the whole movie I didn't like. Otherwise,
yeah.
the
The new Black Panther
costumes,
suit's fucking cool, though.
yeah, the costumes and designs in this movie were fucking awesome. Holy shit.
Dude,
I
like, everything
love,
from TaylorCon was fucking cool.
yeah,
Like, even the water rebreathers that they were wearing with, like, what looked like even, like, the Mayan symbols along the nose ridge was, like, fucking cool.
the mine outfits and the headdresses were fantastic. I love the shit out of those. I mean, like we already had the Dormelage outfits from the first movie, so there's nothing really new from them, but they still maintain being cool. The Jabari, of course, also maintain being cool. Like those two designs, they bring back two awesome designs again. But like I said, they were already in Black Panther. But the new designs, the new suit for Black Panther was awesome. I did like the interesting, I guess it was Nakia's tribe. They had like the greenish blue armor.
Yeah.
Their designs were really cool because I guess like, you know, what's his face that Daniel Kalua, he played like T'Challa's best friend
Yeah.
for
It's
the
from
Border
the
Tribe,
Border Tribe.
and then they betray him, and you know he's apparently still in prison, and which was that was a good way of explaining why he's not in the movie when he was like, "I'm gonna be in Nope," and it
He's
was like
literally
he
he's
chose
literally a
Nope over
traitor.
this. I mean, no, but I mean, like, Daniel Kaluuya, he could have been in the movie. They were gonna have him in it, but
Oh,
he
I didn't know
had
that.
scheduling conflicts, I think, with Nope specifically. I think it was
Oh, that's
Nope,
unfortunate. I
and
really
that
like
is
that
why
guy.
he was not in the film. Because they could have basically probably taken him out of prison. Maybe T'Challa was generous and was like, "Hey, man, you fucked up once, just don't do it again," or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard some bits of what this movie was gonna be before, Chadwick
Oh,
Boseman
yeah,
died,
it
and it was, like, a
was
completely different movie.
yeah, it was him coming back and trying to come to terms with being gone for 5 years,
Yeah,
especially,
he's, like,
like.
literally he was the king of his people, and he just, like, was gone for 5 years.
And the bigger thing being he reveals the country to the world and then is gone right after. So he has to face the guilt of leaving his country out to dry for 5 years. Whether
Yeah,
or not it was, you know, it was out of his power to not be there, but it was within his power to have revealed that, and he has to come to terms with that, not to mention you know, everything else with that thing. And it honestly, I think it could have been a really cool concept, but
yeah,
unfortunately, you know, life gets in the way of that, of real events, and we get something else, which, you know, the something else I still think was good. And yeah, here we are. otherwise, yeah, design wise, those were all fucking cool. Um, what else? I'm like saving. I mean, we talked about the
Even
Dormelage.
the Ironheart suit was like interesting and like different from Iron Man,
Yeah,
sort of.
it was okay. I wasn't really wowed by it, and it was just kind of there. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
I don't know
Um,
why, but I'm like kind
it
of a
had the
fan of like
fucking
the one Mega Buster arm. I don't
it
know
had
why.
the Eva Wally eyes or the Astrobot eyes, whichever one you want to
Yeah.
say. But that's all I was thinking when I saw that, and I was like, I either was gonna be like
Well, now I won't be able to
Eva
unsee that.
or like yeah, the fucking Astrobots. But that's kind of what I was getting from it when I saw that. Um, otherwise, I'm trying to think, were there any other Wakandan characters? Um, I don't think so. It's just really Shuri and I guess Shuri herself, her whole arc of really dealing with, her grief and coming through it, especially because, it's two things of like haunting her. One, she wasn't there in his final moments because she was trying to
Yeah.
save him. Two, she failed at saving him. So it's kind of like a double what would you I guess like double depression in terms of that. It's like one, you could have at least been there, but two, you were gonna do something that could potentially maybe save him, probably not, but like attempt to try anyway. And that also wasn't even there in time. So you're dealing with that double guilt of
Like
losing your brother.
could have done something either way and
And he's her best friend
failed at
too, more or
both.
less. Like she
Yeah.
was her best friend and the person she was closest with more than like her mom and stuff. But then like, she loses her mom later on and that just kind of drives her to a Killmonger. And that was unexpected.
I was not expecting to see Michael B. Jordan again as Killmonger, but like that was honestly one of my favorite parts of the movie because like his whole speech of like, why do you think you saw me and not like any other part of your family that would have been in the ancestral realm? Like it's because like everyone else took the heart-shaped herb to protect their family or to protect Wakanda. You did it because you want the power to exact revenge. That's what I wanted. So that's why you're seeing me.
Yeah, and she can't, I mean, there's no family for her to protect anymore either. So that's like another
Yeah.
reason for it. Yeah, so I thought it was really good. And that definitely put away the whole maybe T'Challa kept him alive in stasis like Winter Soldier. And I was like, nope, he did. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh, damn. Uh so, you know, he uh he was good though. Michael B. Jordan, I don't think has ever disappointed me. He's
No,
always a
he's an
good time,
amazing actor.
whether it was Black Panther, Creed. So, I'm excited for more of him. I mean, I'm excited.
Even
It's
in
not like I hope they
Fantastic
still.
Four, that movie was terrible, but he was pretty good.
I never watched that. I never will watch that movie.
It's
I'm
not
not
worth
gonna.
your time.
Yeah, I'm not gonna bother. I have to be very picky right now of what I watch, just because of time specifically. Yeah. So he was good. I mean, he was in there literally for 2 minutes, but it was a very good 2 minutes that he was
Yeah.
in there. Uh, otherwise, Shuri goes through her full like. That's the thing. Like I was complaining about She-Hulk's whole thing of like there's no development, whereas Shuri, there is so much development for her because we're
Yeah.
going through her stage, her grief, her anger, her what would the coming to peace, or I guess moving on and learning about life because it starts. The whole film is about death in different ways, and it ends with life. It ends with
Yeah.
life of showing T'Challa's son and Shuri becoming reborn, more or less, of just like, I'm gonna figure my life out, but it's not gonna potentially be in Wakanda, at least for now. And, M'Baku taking the throne. And then the reveal of Nakia, which I guess I forgot about Nakia, like Lupita Nyong'o's character Nakia, which her fucking outfit was dope. I liked her suit a lot. And I love she still has those fucking ring blades. I don't know what to call them, but they're like ring blades, but those are always tight. Uh,
Yeah, except it seemed like she had an upgrade.
yeah, they were shredding people. I was like, oh, uh, she was really well done. I like the way because the whole thing is she is more or less a foil for T'Challa,
Mhm.
and which isn't a bad thing considering like there's so many characters for Black Panther, and I mean, it's a very heavy female cast, and it's been a thing of like how natural they do it, and it's a really awesome way they've done it. And like I said, it's like always when it's done naturally, it's fantastic. And this one was done naturally in both films, and it works out really well. and it's like women are the majority of these films, where it's just like in the first movie you just have T'Challa, you have Killmonger, you have M'Baku, and that's really, or I guess also Daniel Kaluuya's character, but that's it. And uh, everyone else is just female. And in this one, it's just really M'Baku, and well, they bring in like Namor and stuff, but in terms of the Wakandans, it's very female heavy, and you do feel much more it's a matriarch type society practically for a good amount of time, uh, which is very real, but not utilized often in fiction. And I always think it should probably be utilized more because you always kind of forget that kind of thing. But otherwise, yeah, I really like the way they handled Shuri. I appreciated that she's still. I appreciated her height that I didn't realize existed. It's either her, she's tall, or Riri is really short. I couldn't
I
really
think it's just
tell.
Riri is short because she's like 19.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't think she. If she's 19, she's probably not going to grow much anymore, though.
That's fair, I guess.
Yeah, they like she might
No, she
grow like.
seemed very small.
Yeah, I saw that the height difference, and I'm like looking at them both, and I'm straight up just like, I don't know which one's tall and which one's short. I don't understand. Oh my god, it was great though. I'm probably gonna look up their heights after this though, because I need to know who is actually tall and who is actually like one of them's tall, one of them's short, which means the other one's probably just average height. I just am so curious. But otherwise, like I did like at least for a little bit, they maintained Shuri's weapon of choice, which is the sonic blasters. And I love those in her first outfit, the way they like in the first movie. And I'm glad she at least maintained them for a little bit before it just went full like panther claws. And then you see all the scratches on Namor, and you're just like, God damn, she really hurting this man.
Yeah. Well, she was straight up trying to kill him.
Yeah, oh dude, she was trying to murder the shit out of him, and he's just kind of like, stop this, and then stabs her with his spear. Um, but I guess speaking of like, well, I guess before we get to Namor and stuff, the final thing for Shuri, do you like this new Black Panther
Oh yeah.
as Black Panther?
No, I think she's pretty cool. Like first off, like I said, I think the suit's super cool, and just like again, I'm a fan of characters that are like very intelligent and know how to use that to their advantage. And they spent a lot of time in the last movie and like just in general in the MCU so far with Shuri, just showing that she is incredibly smart. So
Yeah,
I'd like to see more of her for sure.
same. I'm not sure like how much she'll be in other stuff, but I think like I guess in terms of because I think all the Namor stuff isn't really unrelated to this, but do you think we'd get her heading up a Black Panther 3 then? Or do we even
Oh,
think
for
there's gonna
sure.
be do we think there's going to be a Black Panther 3?
I hope so.
Yeah, I think I want one too, just because I think there's so much still in Wakanda to talk about and
Oh
show.
yeah, absolutely.
And I think like there's still like I mean, I think they could still address more of we saw it at the end of Black Panther 1. They go to Oakland, and you're
Yeah.
just like you want to see a little bit more of that. So I think that's more of something I want to see too, is just Shuri, either her going around the world, or I think I would like it if it is a split of her being around the world, but also either her going to Wakanda too and doing a bunch of shit there, or you kind of split it where it's her doing that and then you get some Kingdom Baku Wakanda stuff too. Those are two potential venues I'd like to see them go through with it.
Yeah.
But ending it off with Namor and his people of underwater mines, which are blue mines, and I love that it's blue mines. Uh,
But also like under the water they look normal colored, which is
the
interesting.
deeper you go, I think it's just because of the pressure and the fact that it's
Yeah.
like everything's already blue down there that they kind of turn more of like brown.
Well, that's the funny
And
thing. Like I have heard about like why shit down there, like the farther you down, the more blue it gets, is apparently it's like it oh right, okay. So like the water, the light coming from the sun has to go through so much water that the lower energy wavelengths of light
mhm,
get stopped first. So that's why blue, I guess, has enough energy that it is the last wavelength that can actually like get as deep as it can before it's just dark. So that's why everything looks blue down there. So that's why it doesn't really make sense that they would look less blue underwater. But whatever, it's still a cool effect.
Okay. Uh, they were awesome. They were
Oh,
probably. I
absolutely,
mean, I
yeah.
love. I
That's
mean,
why I keep saying I wanted to see more of that shit.
Black Panther. Like this movie's about Black Panther. It's about all that stuff. And they're all fantastic. They were great. My favorite part was Namor and his people easily. I mean, also for me, you guys gotta understand too, it's like my own bias of being part Mexican. So just kind of getting something like this I mean, we don't really get this ever, especially just in terms of like minority stuff. Like it's usually like we're getting if you're like probably like Latino or Middle Eastern or something, you're not really getting that much compared to like potentially other areas. At least from what I've noticed personally. And getting this now, I'm like, oh, finally, yeah, let's go. And it was really well done having all the designs of like this awesome underwater kingdom that I wanted to see so much more of. We just kind of barely get it. And that was one of the things where it's like this movie has too much in it, but also there's not enough focus on certain things. And this is one of the things I wanted more focus on was
Yeah.
this world, the origins and everything else. Like we got the origin and it was really cool the way they show and explain it. And I really liked it. And the I guess whole understanding of that world gives me a definite want of a movie just about this.
Yeah.
Just showing them doing their thing. And
Dude, speaking of costumes, Namor's like war outfit where
oh,
he's
the
got like
headdress
the
and everything
headdress and
else.
everything. I
Oh,
was
that
just
was
like,
fucking
fuck, that's
great.
so cool.
Yeah, they were definitely. I don't think they were looking at Mayan design for that. Like you definitely feel a mix of Aztec and Mayan in terms of the designs, especially with the headdress.
Yo, they're playing side hoop.
Dude, that was so cool. They should do that under. I'm watching that and I'm like, how the fuck do you do that underwater? Like, is the ball like heavy enough that it still like works, or is it just floating through? Like, and it's like that's actually a game that they was playing in Mesoamerica, and it's really fucking cool. And I've seen like pictures of people kind of showing their attempts of doing it in like LA during festivals and stuff. And I really want to go down there and just see that stuff. But I guess the average person, their introduction to this would have been from the animated DreamWorks film, The Road to El Dorado,
Yeah.
where they play the they play the game, and like Shell's
That's how
like
I know
Tulio,
it.
Tulio, the hip, and it's just like it's fantastic. But which if you guys loved seeing Namor in that world, honestly, the closest thing you're gonna get to that's I think is a fantastic film to watch is The Road to El Dorado. It is my favorite. I want to say it's probably my favorite animated film of all time. Sorry,
Hmm.
Goofy movie. It's like that and Goofy movie are always like up against each other. So fucking good. But like, yeah, the everything about it was great from the Mayan Aztec influences to the fact that like, I joked uh when the trailers were first shown, I'm like, we're getting underwater Mexicans. This is gonna be crazy. And then like
Little did you know.
little did I know, I'm like, there is zero Spanish blood in these. These men and women are pure Mayan. And I'm like, dope. I was like, they're not Mexican
Yeah.
because they never had that blood to begin with.
They straight up just like escaped the Spanish by becoming mer people.
Yeah, God, it was so fucking cool. But the fact that they have like super fucking strength, most likely for the fact that they're living deep pressure. Like it's the whole thing
Yeah,
with
they
like
basically
Aquaman and stuff.
do. Yeah, I was gonna say they basically do Aquaman rules where it's like, well, to even live down in the depths of the ocean, he would need to be like fairly indestructible. And if he's gonna be indestructible and move like that quickly through water, he'd probably have to be pretty strong too. So he's
Yeah.
basically Superman underwater.
And I always love underwater stuff. Like that's why I love Aquaman and his powers and his world. And I love like I'm really excited for the new Avatar movie coming out next month, which I'm fucking opening night Dolby Atmos. That's what I'm doing. Buying tickets the minute it comes out. I
I
am
keep
actually gonna
forgetting
be
how soon shit is. Like
I'm
I
gonna be
honestly like dude,
asking
even Black Panther's snuck
tickets
up on
aren't on
me.
sale yet, but I'm basically gonna be pre-asking people, including you, if you guys want to see opening night Dolby Atmos. It's gonna probably be like a Thursday night or something, but
That'd be
yeah.
kind of cool.
Yeah, so I'll probably watch it again in IMAX too after. But like the underwater here in this world, I love it, especially because like I don't want Namor and Aquaman's worlds to compete with each other. Because if you're DC and Marvel, everyone's always going to try to compare and like do all this shit to be like, one's better than the other and all this other stuff. But when it comes specifically, I don't. A lot of them don't match. Especially it's like none of them match with Batman. You have like five different Marvel characters to be put together to match Batman practically. But like Daredevil, Moon Knight, and like a couple others. But like
Yeah, no one's like exactly the same.
when it comes to Aquaman and Namor, like the only theme that's the similar thing is water. But I love that these movies have done enough to make them completely different. Where Aquaman is like fantasy underwater, cool fucking crab people and like mer people and all this stuff, and it's like all of your fantasy underwater desires. And then for Namor, it's like, yo, you want to see some fucking underwater mine stuff that is completely different, and everyone's just blue people. And I'm like, yes, I want both of these. I want as much of it from both as I possibly can because that is so freaking cool. And yeah, I'll never compare these two because I just want both of more easily.
Yeah, there was like one like touch in the final confrontation between like the Namor's people and the Wakandans that like was it just interested me. Where like we had seen throughout the movie the people from Telecon using like orcas and I guess
Humpback
humpback
whales,
whales
yeah.
to like kind of pull them through the water as like transport. But in the final battle, like one person actually got like flipped on
Oh,
a
that was dope as hell.
like an orca literally did like a tail flip and used him as like it was basically used its tail as a catapult to launch the dude like up onto the ship. And I was just like, that's fucking cool. They
Yeah, and it's
trained an
like,
orca to
yo,
do that shit.
you kind
I mean,
of you're
not
like,
really, but for the movie.
you want these people to lose? They got whales on their side, man. It's like,
Uh,
people love whales.
to be fair though, I did kind of laugh like when like they were trying to get Riri like out of the city and they just get like attacked on the bridge and just like an orca jumps up out of the water and drops off a couple of Talocon people and like a great humpback whale jumps out of the water and drops up a couple other people. I'm just like, I felt a
This
little
is,
weird.
it's like this is Boston.
Yeah.
That's the thing too. Like when Namor goes to see uh Ramonda, I think that's shit. Did I say her name correctly? I probably said it wrong. But like when he sees them when they're mourning, uh Ramonda. I always Ramonda. But he's like, your water, it's so clean, so pure. Like you guys have kept it amazing. Like I'm actually in admiration of what you guys have done. And I do appreciate that, which is why I really want more of because I don't think we're really gonna get it as much in Aquaman of like the whole like the ocean's in trouble and humans fucking suck. We did get it in the first one a little bit where they're like fuck the surface world and the surface world sucks and it does suck obviously because the ocean. But uh I think if we do get like a Namor movie, the things I want is more of his background because we got a very I'm not going to say half-assed. I'm going to say very bare bones background of Namor, like
Oh
his whole
yeah.
origin, his reasonings for this of vengeance and everything else of seeing the surface world and everything else. Like it's very very bare bones, and there's not much depth into it. Pun intended of the depth of the ocean, guys. And I think having his own film, we can get him expanding his background, his hatred, all that kind of stuff. But two, getting more from his people, and then three, really emphasizing, oceanic preservation because I think you could do that in a non-annoying way of like spreading that, but doing it naturally within the film itself, like the way they're probably
Yeah.
going to do in Avatar. I have no doubt. I honestly think they're gonna probably do a very good job in Avatar 2 of saying it without throwing it in your face. Like they're gonna do it all for the story, and it's probably gonna be pulled off really well, knowing James Cameron. But like, yeah, that's kind of my overall feeling for it. And there's not too much else to talk about, just because there's not much that was really shown or given to us besides just the base surface of this world, these characters, and another pun intended, just surface depth. Come on, guys, it's so easy. We got two other characters, that are big in the comics too, at least in the Namor side of stuff, but probably still average person doesn't really care about. But Akuma and Namora, and I'm excited to see more of them too. just because I don't really know too much about them in the comics, but I knew their names. I'm like, "Oh shit, I know these guys." Like I was able to say it in the fucking theater. I was like, "Sakuma," and stuff, and I knew Namora without even having to think about it, even though he said in the movie. But I'm like, "That is Namora," because the big female blue person there is Namora. Just like in the comics, I do remember it a bit. I forget what I
Mm.
read, but I do recall it. And yeah, I think that's really everything I got for it. I don't know if you got anything else.
Yeah, it's just really unfortunate that all we got about TaylorCon is just like imagine underwater Mayans, and that's about it. And
Look at their
like,
cool underwater garden that they're like
yeah, and like
harvesting stuff.
we know that they have access to vibranium, which is like that's another revelation in this movie is that like Wakanda is not the only place in the world with vibranium. Apparently, TaylorCon was built around it too, and to the point where like that was the fact that Namor was like covered in vibranium like stuff like when he met the queen and Shuri like that she literally was like no he's definitely speaking the truth because he's got vibranium on him like and we didn't give it to him like I one of the coolest things about the first Black Panther movie was seeing all the clever, cool ways that the Wakandan people wove vibranium into like not just their technology, but like their culture and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was hella cool. And so if Talocon has as much or even just like a fraction of the amount of vibranium that like Wakanda has, like and it's an underwater civilization like I really wanted to see like what kind of stuff do they use vibranium for and we get like one insane thing where like they built like a sun essentially to give them heat and light underwater and that's like literally all we get like
Yeah.
there's like one shot later on of like what looks like two Talocon soldiers like combining two shields to do something cool, but like that was it. And yeah, just it feels like there could be so much more we could see about Talocon, and we just got like not enough for
Yeah.
my
Because now
taste.
we know now, it's like, the whole thing is like Wakanda was the most powerful country on the planet. It's like, for a fact, it's like, yeah, they're still cool, but Namor is his people are the most powerful people on this planet for
Yeah.
sure. And that was a
And
really
he spends a
interesting
whole lot of the movie saying
revelation.
like, I have more soldiers in my nation than you have blades of grass in yours. Like you cannot win a war with me.
And each soldier is probably like takes like I mean, the way that battle looked, it's like each each soldier was like potentially 3 Wakandan
Like Captain
soldiers.
America's
Yeah,
basically.
like they were a lot more powerful than an average Wakandan soldier would lose in a
Yeah.
fight. So it's just like, oh, okay, you're outnumbered and outmatched at the same time. So that's not always good at all for anybody on the losing side. I guess actually two more things I didn't really think about too much, but like one, the whole interaction between Namor and Shuri at the very end. That scene of like she could kill him and she gets the full like flashes of both worlds of how they're the same. They're both
Yeah.
alone. They're not rogue nations, but like lone nations. And like they have the same cultures, the same people, even like the way they use their hands are very similar. And it's like, damn, like, yeah, why are we fighting? And it's like, besides the whole vengeance that's occurred, are we gonna let vengeance consume us? I really thought that was well done. I liked that a
Yeah.
lot. You felt the same way pretty much, right?
Yeah, like I loved her line of like, vengeance may have consumed us, but we can't let it consume our people.
Yeah,
Like that was very noble of her, and that was like basically her starting to actually become a potential leader instead of just being like, I'm the new Black Panther. I am the like the muscle behind Wakanda. Like I am the protector of Wakanda and not just like the ruler or leader.
yeah. And also the in a way it is kind of like the whole, white playing minorities against each other and stuff. And you do kind of feel that a bit where it's like, "Hey, why are the minorities?" And it's like, why are we fighting? Like, we're not the ones that are, like,
Yeah.
out to get us, like, all of these ones are out to get us because of, like, that whole thing. And the whole thing
Yeah.
of, like, "Oh, don't white nations always go after other smaller countries for their resources like they are for this?" And it's like, "Yes, they are." So you get that commentary there, and it felt really good of them, like, we should ally against them because don't let them fuck us again.
Even like Namor's final speech at the end when Namora was like, I've waited my entire life to fight alongside you. Like, why did you yield at the end?" And he's like, "Yeah, well, Wakanda is like the entire world wants what Wakanda has, so Wakanda will come under attack at some point, and when that happens, they're going to need an ally,
And
and
they're
that
gonna
means they're
come
going
to
to turn
us.
to us,
Yeah.
and that will make Talokan more powerful than we've ever been." So, like, he's counting on the rest of the world at some point turning on Wakanda because it does
Seem
sadly
very
feel
likely.
inevitable.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, the two only two like now that you know there's vibranium somewhere else, and you know the other countries were going to try to use that, like America was already trying to get that vibranium, and now learning, oh, there's a country that owns that, and oh, the only two countries that have vibranium are now allied together, so all the vibraniums in one alliance.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Like, don't do nothing stupid now. Otherwise you're gonna get pretty got pretty badly. Um the other thing being, I wanted more. I think one thing against this movie, but it's more of just a personal thing than anything. I wouldn't count it against the film. Is I wanted more interaction between Namor and I guess both the Queen and Shuri.
Yeah.
Like I wish there was more interaction between them. Like that whole time when Shuri's on the beach at the very end, I get what they were doing with T'Challa and his son, which I thought was fine. I don't think there's really anything to say on that side, but um, I was hoping the whole time, like, so, and then Namor came out of the
Yeah, I
water and
wanted
goes,
Namor to show up one more
"Yeah,
time.
sorry, I killed your mom." Because I bet they probably don't get along too well. But it's like maybe it's something they can overcome. It's
Yeah,
really
that's gonna be a
hard, but
really, like, awkward alliance if that ever
yeah.
happens.
So we'll see what happens though. Shit, because that's something hard to let go of. Really, very hard. Um, But yeah, Black Panther, like I said, for me, overall between okay and good, just because there's a lot going on in it. It even made me, didn't want to, but I kept forgetting parts of the movie because there's so much going on in I would say, in a way, a negative fashion. But otherwise, the characters were fantastic, most of them. And designs were great. Story was really well done in terms of the main things they were trying to get across from the core of it. And for the fact that it's a movie that had to be done very much ad hoc because of, you know, the tragedy of uh, Chadwick Boseman's passing. Uh, they did a good job with what they were handed and the time they had to do it, especially on the fucking Disney timeline. So yeah, good job.
Yeah.
Anything else from you?
Oh, you know, overall, I thought it was pretty good. They just like you, I wish they focused a bit more on TaylorCon, and they probably could have just like nixed a couple other side stories to make up the time,
Yeah,
or it just didn't need to be 2.5 hours.
yeah. um, Otherwise, yeah, that's Sutra Side Talk, guys. That's She-Hulk and Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Next week, just because I need more time to play God of War Ragnarok and I barely
I
touched it,
just finished it last
I
night.
blame Destiny. And also people want to play some Hunt. But I'll be playing it probably over the next couple weeks. Next week though, we will be doing a Star Wars episode, more Disney. But this coming week, Andor finishes its final episode. And so we'll talk Andor, we'll talk Tales of the Jedi, and that new little Ghibli short that has like Grogu and the little dust dudes from the Ghibli movies like Totoro and stuff. I haven't watched any of this stuff at all yet, so I'll be pretty much like watching it throughout the week, which will be fun because that means like I get to just watch Andor without being like, what happens next week? Oh, it's all here. Oh boy. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it because this sounds like a show that is finally just like really fucking good Star Wars that we haven't gotten in ever. So, like actually ever. This never been done before, apparently, from what I've heard. So I'm really pumped for it. Otherwise, I think the week after, it would be what would like. Okay, let's let me hang on. Let me look at the calendar really fast. That'll be yeah. The final week of November is basically going to be the Star Wars stuff. So the first week of December, we'll hit up God of War Ragnarok. I think that's when that'll show up, and then we'll see what happens for a couple weeks in there because I'll say it right now, guys. Final week of the year will be our 2022 year in review episode, where we'll talk about our top five, like or top pretty much. I don't want to say top five. I guess we'll just kind of see how we want to do it, but our top games, films, television, and new category anime because it's becoming too big to put with television, so it's easier to have them separate. So we'll talk about those four things. And I think in like last year, I think I gave a full list of every game and movie coming out and stuff for 2022. This year, I think we'll just say like kind of instead of doing all that, we'll just say like our top five or like our top like three or something most anticipated stuff of those categories coming instead to make it a little bit easier and shorter. But we'll see how that goes. And then yeah, we'll have a couple weeks in between to figure out what we'll do, whether it's like Callisto Protocol or um, some other movies and shows, or Avatar 2 and stuff like that. So we'll see what we do. It depends on how much time there is and whatnot. And we have a whole another year after, and I don't think there's gonna be any crazy stuff until February next year. So January we can really catch up with some other stuff too and kind of get all that done. Otherwise, for the show itself, you can email us at sutrosidetalk@gmail.com. Send us any feedback, comments, give us any questions you want us to read on the show. I'm going to try to do a better job of maybe, I don't know if I can do it on TikTok or not, but I'll try to kind of put more previews of like, hey, this is the episode we have coming up. If you want to send us questions like before we do it, like I'll try to put on reminders and stuff like that on like Instagram and Twitter and whatnot. I'll see what we can do. Um, Otherwise, you can follow the show on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Well, Twitter's still here, so you can at Sutro Sidetalk.
Yeah, for
Just one
now.
word for all of it. And then you can follow Jim's on Twitter at InvaderJim124. You can follow me on Twitter at GoGoComzilla. And subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to or watching, whether it's YouTube, Apple Podcasts, etc. If it is Apple Podcasts, please give us a 5-star review. That would really, really, really help us out. Honestly, that's the one thing I'd love everyone to do. If you're on Apple Podcasts, if you're on Spotify, you can rate us. And if it's YouTube, besides subscribing, like the episodes you're listening or watching. And if you guys really, really want to help, please share us out with other people. If you see our posts, just retweet it, repost it, whatever it is on whatever platform. It would really help us out. Just so we're more, I guess, like viewed overall. But yeah, that's the show, and we will catch you all next week. So long.
Thanks for listening.